So when you start a voice agency, that's what happens. Right? Most of the time, the 20,000 developers, 40,000 developers is not good enough. But if you three of you combine, that's a voice agency, right? Yes. So there are existing ad agencies, right, who are great in content, who are great in visual design, who are great in creating brand personas, right? Then there are tech agencies which are very good in backend architecture, the entire cloud architecture. They know AWS in and out, they know Alexa in and out, they can code really well. But a hardcore engineer doesn't understand brand and marketing and communication, right? Same the other way around. Somebody in brand and marketing practice does not understand tech and code. You tell them what to, all these things just goes out of their head, right? So if you have to start a voice agency, you need at least these three skill set in one group or in one team, right? Someone should be really good in tech, someone should be really good in content, someone should be really good in the VUI part of it. Right? So when you put all the three together, that's when you have a voice agency. So if you are going to market as, hey, I'm an Alexa developer, you still have the tag developer, but when you go to market as a voice agency, that is an all-encompassing solution, right? Otherwise, what happens is when you go only as a developer, you might be paired to work with their existing agency. Once again, they are in a different planet. They think differently, they speak a different language, you are in a different framework of time. It's very hard to get the output, right? So that's, if you're looking at a voice agency, just balance each one of this out. So let's look at building a voice agency, right? So I would like, next. Like I said, it's not a voice agency, you are actually building a business. That's exactly what you're building. Because all the first few skills that you saw, the AP jokes and the phone ringing, those are all some of our products, right? So somebody in office came up with an idea and we built it, it's good, right? Or Amazon told us, hey, there's a use case here, could you guys build it? We built it, it's great. But those are all products. It is not a service that we rendered for someone else. Right? So when you're a voice agency, you're essentially a B2B service provider. So you're going to be talking to other businesses. Right? It could be a large bank, it could be a pizza chain, a restaurant, it could be a children's content, it could be any one of this. The Sreeraman example, Ashish was showing, that was built by us. Right? So Sreeraman is not an enterprise company, he's a great celebrity, but when there was an opportunity to promote this movie on Alexa, we created the experience in his voice. Right? So once again, it's a service that we are providing. His interest is to promote the movie Zero. We know how to use that, how to give a differentiated experience. So it's still a business, right? So let's look at each components of it. Yeah. So once again, when you might have those three different teams like tech, content, and UI, but you still need to look at it in this way. So I made it easy for each one of you to take references. So sales, right? So the very beginning of your voice business starts. Okay, who is going to the market and selling this? Right? There has to be somebody who can open doors for you in other environments. So you can work with other agencies like big advertising agencies, the WPP, the Publicist, the Dentsu. These are really large advertising agencies. You can approach them and say, hey, we are a voice specialist. You have existing clients, we can work with you. Right? Or you can go to large software companies like TCS was one of the listed partners there. I mean, there are other software companies that provides this as a service. You can go to them and say, hey, can we partner with you? Or if you have direct client contacts, you can work with them. Right? Or you might want to start with a medium-sized business. Let's say there's a salon chain, 10 salons across Bangalore. They're not an enterprise, right? Maybe they have a small budget. You can build something like salon appointment Alexa scale, right? For the entire 10 scale, entire 10 salon chain. So you can start. Someone has to do this part. It's the hardest part. It takes a lot of time to close each part of this. But once the sale is done, who's going to be the use cases? The business analyst. Okay, for the salon analyst, we haven't decided. Book an appointment and salon. But maybe that's not what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking at promotions and offers. Right? So someone has to think of a proposal for them. Say, what can voice do for this particular business? So you'll have to write a proposal and then close it. Once it's closed, there will be usually the sales team steps aside. There will be a project manager or a client servicing person who takes over the execution. So most of the time, what happens in a very small setup, the person who made the sale is also servicing that account. Let's say I got a business this month, first week of February. My next 4 weeks is spent in servicing the client. So whole of February, I did not do any business development. So March, I don't have a new sale. So then March, I go back to market I close something by end of March, so whole March is a washout, right? So if you are able to differentiate this piece, right, who's selling, the minute sale is closed, somebody else takes over, that will keep your business going while somebody is focusing on your business. Not that most of you don't know this, but in any agency business, the execution piece is the most crucial. Winning, sometimes we do win businesses, but keeping the client, getting that skill live, getting it certified, there's a lot of work in between. There will be changes, feature requests, bugs, feature enhancement, change of scope, anything done. Right? So the guy who sells it, try to keep a distance from the team that's executing it. So within development is where you start off with a VUI. You need to create an entire. It might take an additional week before you start coding, but it's okay. Right? So initially you try to have all happy path, error path, use cases mapped out, write it down in a Word doc, print it, go present it to a client. If you want, you can do a role play like I'll be Alexa, you'll be the customer. We try and speak it out in front of a customer saying this is how the interaction will look like. These are the pieces where Alexa will say I do not know, because there is no end to how much features you can keep adding. Right? So if I say the same salon example, somebody may say, can you come home and give me a beauty treatment? Maybe that service is not available, it's not even part of the scope, but try to keep on asking you newer and newer and newer things, there's no end to it. Right? So freeze out the VUI as soon as possible before you write a single line of code, it always helps. Right? So most of the time, if you are an engineer, you tend to start your project right in the console. Okay, let's build this, right? Please don't do it. Use a regular Word file, get the VUI map, then into it, right? And of course testing, I think now there are a lot of testing tools available, there's a testing framework available, like right from your latency time all the way till your lambda functions working properly, the answers, responses getting answered correctly, all of it, test it out, maybe get an external set of colleagues who have not worked on the project to test it out, because they may ask non-obvious questions that you might ask, things like that. So these are crucial because the sooner you get execution mode running, that's when you get paid. Right? So please get that as soon as possible. So this component is critical. How many of you know what is copywriting? How is it different from writing? Yes.
It's assigning a law to that, this cannot be copied or...
No, that's copyright law and protection. What is copywriting?
You write to sell.
Okay, you write to sell, that's a great answer, right? So when there's somebody who wrote, just do it for Nike, those 3 words is worth billions of dollars.
Right? Contextual writing.
Sorry?
Contextual writing.
Yeah, that's right. So you to write something, like I said, the same SBI versus HDFC versus HSBC example, right? You don't write it all in the same way. There has to be a differentiated wordplay there, right? Or if you take a pizza place, right? So the conversational design can be very, very easy. Hey there, hungry? Looks like you're ordering a large pizza. Something it can have that friendly tone, right? Imagine a banking skill that says, today 100 rupees transferred. I mean, that sounds very spooky, right? Or imagine it adds a comment after it says your bank balance. That's it, Or wow, that's a lot of money. Imagine it says things like that, right? You don't want to, you don't want your bank to behave that way, right? So that's part of VUI/copywriting, right? So which products has to be done in what way, right? So if it's a car booking, you can add sound effects to it. It's coming, right? 30 seconds more. You can do all this creative pieces. So typically copywriters are the creative teams in an agency. They come up with such effects, content, and all of it. Audio content is typically we are end of day looking at Alexa, Echo devices or Alexa anywhere. It is a speaker device, right? So voice is what user puts in. Voice is the input, output is audio, right? So most of the popular skills that you see, like right from your Arman Shalisa to original sounds to Hindi jokes, it's audio content, right? So even if you are not able to build banking transaction with your voice, you can always create a podcast about create consumer education about banking. You can create beauty tips for the same salon brand that you are talking about, right? So where you cannot create or the business use case does not permit voice only environment. Like fashion is very difficult in voice only because it's visual. I can't show outlook of the day. Right? If it's a multi-modal device, yes. In a pure voice only device, fashion is difficult. But you can have a fashion podcast. Right? You can have a fashion audio stories that can be played. So the brand uses voice only for audio storytelling, right? So tips, interview tips, dressing tips for interview, something like this. It's a podcast. Episode 2, power dressing for your first day. So there's so many content you can create. So the entire experience is built on audio and not on tech, not on transaction, not on any of those things. So you can always build those kind of capabilities as well. Typically, this is where advertising agencies have an upper hand, talking to their clients, because they have the creative ability to imagine such things and go and present it to the client. So if you are going only as a solid engineer, so if you go to an ad agency, they will really like you because they lack that skill and you have the coding abilities. But if the agency makes 100 rupees, you may get only 30 or 40. Right? But if you want the whole 100 rupees, maybe you should have all the three set up. Yeah, so that's the first one is as A for Agrahyah, but there's a lot more, and there's a lot more who are not listed in this slide. Right? So there's so many different voice agencies out there. Right? So why should, I started this conversation by asking why should somebody hire you? Now question back to me, why should somebody hire me? Right? Anyone can go to this page, right? It's on the Alexa page. What are the odds that I get hired? Like there's a TCS right there. I'm competing with the world's largest software company. Right? We are a 30-member team. They are like 4 lakh employees. The difference. So it's gonna be the same question. So okay, you have formed your voice agency. Now what? Why should they hire your voice agency? So it's about the mindset, right? So every agency is the same, right? But if you are able to be a solution provider, if you can imagine for your clients, that's what I understand. So then it works out well. So what this means is, you use your product manager mentality, but you use it to imagine for a client that you are going to work. Think of it like a product, but you are rendering a service, so imagine on their behalf. Right? So getting your first client, where can you start? Right? So how many of you know ABS? Anyone knows ABS? Okay, can you say what is ABS, please?
So making, you can get the module and integrate any device you want, and the backward can be changed.
That's right, sir.
We can build the voice services in third-party tools.
Yes.
As well as very
Yes.
fast, we can build
That's right. So, Alexa works in a microwave oven, Alexa works in a washing machine, Alexa works in TV, fridge. It can work anywhere. Right? You need a mic, speaker, and a connectivity and Bluetooth. So when you look at Alexa, it's not just the skill part of it, right? So the first one is where a brand goes to a Alexa, right? So let's say Domino's, Alexa order Domino's pizza, right? So that's the ASK part. But imagine you open Domino's app, there is a nice voice button there. You tap and say, reorder my last pizza. That's the brand, voice going to the brand. So that's what ABS does. It's called Alexa Voice Services, right? So within Alexa, there is 2 distinct ways in which we work. Okay? So when you look at Alexa coming in automobiles, how many of you saw that? Alexa in your car. Right? So that's ABS. You take Alexa, you integrate it in the car dashboard. Okay? How many of you seen any non-eco device which has Alexa like here?
Fire stick.
Yeah, Fire Stick is still Amazon. Yeah.
robot RC, build robot.
Nice.
Work on the voice
Yeah,
command.
yeah. So even the regular speaker, like Bose speakers, all of them come with Alexa. You saw the Bose hackathon, right? So they take voice so seriously because they're an audio company. Voice is the input, audio is the output, right? So they take it so seriously. So when you go to a store, maybe you like eco device, you buy it, or you have a regular Bluetooth speaker, you buy an eco input and connect to it, or you can buy a Bose with a EVS, right? Anyway, so as a voice agency, you have these 2 opportunities. Right? So it works on ERP, it works on, it works anywhere. Where there is some connectivity, mic and speaker, it works. So the way the previous slide was, if that was difficult, usually this is how I present it to client, right? Alexa is like a genie, you can put it in any lamp you want, right? So it works on built-in devices that comes in market. It works on an app. So this app, AOP, is something we built. Right? Take Alexa wherever you go with an Android app. India is predominantly an Android market. So we just built a nice, simple interface app called AOP. It's called Alexa on phone. We just abbreviated it, called it as AOP. Try downloading it when you get time. that works on PDs. Right? We took Alexa, we built it into an Android app. Okay? So it's a completely different ecosystem. It's a Amazon product and Google ecosystem. Right? It works obviously just fine. Alexa works with TV, Alexa works with your smart home devices. We have integrated Alexa inside SAP and ERP systems. So
I just want to ask something that supposing you download Alexa on your phone, Alexa app. So in the Alexa device, whenever you speak Alexa, it responds. But in the app, you have to press the button, then only it responds.
right. So you can set it as default also. Then instead of OK Google, you can replace it as Alexa. So AVS usually works as tap to speak, push to talk.
Like OK Google also works on tap to speak. It doesn't automatically pick up.
You have to just change the setting.
Huh?
Just have to change the setting. So we have some of the use cases we have built as an ERP system. So imagine you are a purchase manager in a large company. Every time you need to look at what is the purchase in North Karnataka this month. You have to go to an Excel sheet, page number 2, row 32. Now you have to tap and ask, hey, what's the sales in North Karnataka this month? It will just give you the number. Or you can use it in HR systems. Hey, how many leaves do I have left? So when you ask, it's different answer. When I ask, it's a different answer. Right? So you can integrate Alexa into such ERP systems. So once again, when we say we are a voice agency, we are more like a solution provider. We take Alexa and try to fit it in as many use cases as possible. Yes.
My question is, I have an app, suppose, if I am building an app, can I provide a button or something, like suppose
Yes.
if I speak,
Yes.
That can be connected to Alexa?
That is correct. That's how AVS works. You can integrate Alexa inside your app. So that's the example I was giving you. There is AOP or River for iOS. Right? So you can have Alexa inside your own app. That's the beauty of it. So there is Alexa companion app. These are all the Alexa's own devices, right? The rest of it is all there Alexa everywhere, right? So this is the one you are asking. Alexa inside your mobile app. So you can integrate it wherever you want. Right? Any electronic environment you can literally integrate Alexa. So this many opportunities for you to build if you are an Alexa solution provider. So imagining for your client, what does it mean? Right? So most of the time, people in their regular business, like a banker, kind of a pizza chain, they're busy in their business. They know their business very well. They have a lot about voice. They know what is going on, but they don't have the depth and the width of understanding of what is possible with Alexa. So it is our responsibility as a voice agency to imagine on. So look, I saw this ad in the airport. So the Ramco is a solution provider, right? So they're talking about talk to your ERP. That's their pitch, right? Because airport, CX solution makers. And if you read the fine print, it says to apply leave, raise purchase request, book timesheets, and more. Right? So they are talking about a solution. So Alexa and Google Assistant is a given. It's just a physical device. Right? What can Ramco do for you is the whole point. Right? So when you are thinking of a solution provider, think like this. So where we go to market is, I know the white slides is giving you on the, if anyone is sleepy, this is the slide to look at. So the way we look at every client is 3 different phases. We call it as information, service, and delight. Right? So information is, let's take the same bank example. There is no account linking here. There is no linking to the bank's database. There is no linking to any server. You are only porting information from your existing web and app that places in a voice-friendly environment. What I mean by that is, hey Alexa, where is the nearest HDFC ATM? So it knows where I am and will tell you it's 400 meters from you. Right? So this is very, very simple information. Hey Alexa, what time does HDFC Bank close today? It will say it's a Saturday, today they close at 2 p.m. Right? These are all information-led service. Right? So this is mostly fairly easy to build. Just heavy on content, so you will have to map out hundreds of questions and hundreds of answers in under just easy to understand. This is a great starting point for anyone to get a business deal from it, because there's not much risk involved. There's no customer data. There's none of it. It's just a skill, right? But that's not good enough. Like how many of you have ever asked Alexa where's the nearest branch? Right. So no one. So it is good to have like a foundation level stuff, right? So it's just a good to have stuff. It's not like the coolest thing that you would like to know, right? So the second piece is what we call as Service Plus, where a customer is able to link their account with Alexa. So you can say something like, Alexa, what is my balance? So that means you have linked your phone number or your customer ID with your Alexa skill and your bank. So it will tell you, Sreeraman, your bank balance is 100 rupees. So then it is useful for me. Right? So then I can check what is the renewal date on my policy, or what is my account balance on my savings account, or what is the interest rate for something, right? Or how is my fixed deposits doing? I can ask questions related to my account. How many of you would like to use this? Quickly, without any app, login, website, just know your bank balance, right? Or you can ask something like, when was my last EMI debited? You all have EMIs? Yeah. So it can give you a quick answer saying your EMI of car loan of 4,000 bucks was debited on something like this, right? So it's useful. So this is a service module. This requires a lot of tech work where you are connecting a Alexa skill to a bank's customer database environment. So there's a lot of security involved, a lot of protocols involved. Most of the time banks say, can you deploy Alexa in my server? There's a lot of such questions you will face. You will have to have answers for it and find a way to work while ensuring there is security and privacy compliances. The third piece, once again, is delight. Once again, this is away from tech again. Right? This is where the storytelling comes. Right? So imagine the bank is trying to educate you about 10 best things about UPI you did not know, 4 things about credit card charges you did not know, right? 5 offers for platinum card members. This is how you can use the bank's loyalty program to your best use case. So imagine these are all conversational audio pieces the bank has built, and it's really useful to you. But if it's not a banking brand, then of course you can look at entertaining content, right? Like children's stories. So this is the delight piece. So it doesn't mean brands have to progressively go in this way. Somebody could start off directly here or here or here. But the amount of time and energy involved, of course, it's in that order. Right? Building a FAQ bot is not a big deal. Building a service skill is a lot of work. Right? Delight piece is heavily on content. So if you think your strength is mostly creativity, great place to start. Right? If you think, okay, we are just a 2-3 member team, we do not know all this tech, maybe it's a great place to start for you, go after brands and create a basic experience for them. Right? So it's up to play to your strengths. Either ways, you are imagining for your mind. That's what you are doing. Right? Play to your strength while also imagining what can happen to the brand in next. Right? So when I say you need to do investment in your own business, what I mean by that is clients, like even after you speak so much, they do not know how it feels or what it looks like, right? So take out imaginary use cases, like take an ideal customer of that particular brand. Think of an ideal use case that why somebody would be using Alexa for that banking, right? Then figure out the use cases. Maybe use cases can be multiple, but you can build one demo of it, right? Or if you want to show a live prototype, build it and give access to their whitelisted email. All this, what happens is if you are talking to one person, like a marketing manager in a large company, you make all this available to them, they can share it with their team. But if you're only talking to them, you just did a knowledge transfer to them and you walked out of the room, they forgot half of it. Because it's not their job to keep track of what it's our job to keep track of what was scheduled for them. Right? So please invest time and energy in creating demo, in creating a prototype, make it available. Also what happens is if you're building for one bank, one brand, it is good for 4 other clients in the same category, right? So imagine you imagine it for one bank. You can go to 10 other banks and show, hey, this is what banking in Alexa looks like. You do it to 10 other clients, right? But it's an investment. It took some time and energy for you to build those, but please do invest in those. So some of our clients, there isn't a single client of ours we want without showing them a demo, right? It may take a week of work. It may take more than that sometimes. But until we show them what's in store, it's very hard for them to get. Right? So one use case is this United Healthcare. The brief was very simple. Their call center has heavy load of people calling them, but the questions they ask is help in filling a claim form. Right? So we presented a case called put Alexa on hold. What this means is usually when you call a call center, the customer service agent puts you on hold. Right? We wanted to flip the model and build Alexa skill where Alexa is the agent, it gives you, first it emails you the form, so if you have the form ready, it will walk you through every step of the form. Right? You can skip a section, you can skip a question. Within the question, you can have a question saying, what does this question number 14 mean? Why do you need answer to question number 15? What is CRM number? Something like this, right? So, and when you say hold, Alex, you put Alex on hold, right? The customer agent doesn't put you on hold. So it was a very powerful use case that I built. So larger business context for them is reducing load on network speed, right? Just use Alexa, don't call, wait, and do all those things, right? So Red Chilies was the Shah Rukh Khan experience. Ricket Venkateswar RB is a US client, I'll show you a demo of it. BHO, we are building cocktail recipes in Captain Morgan's US. So every client that we have, there was a demo use case that was built, that was shown to them, only then they understood, oh okay, this sounds inside. So we imagined a use case where Captain Morgan tells you cocktail recipe in his voice. Right? Beyond that, he also tells you jokes and stories from the pirate stories and stories from the high seas. So that's the entire experience built. It's a small demo. I just wanted to show you that. Try this one. Here, this one.
Yeah, you got it now.
Okay.
Alright, I was just about to set sail into the unexplored and beautiful lands still left to be discovered. How have you remembered me today? Oh, I see. You are thirsty for some fine Captain Morgan. Do as I say, and I'll help you make a brilliant cocktail. Take a tall glass and fill it up with ice cubes. Now, pour some of that fabulous Captain Morgan. I suggest not more than 50 ml, as not everyone.
So you get the drift, right? So we got a voiceover artist, we get to script this, then we record it, then make it as a script. Right? This is for Ricket Venkateswar US. Mr. Mucus is literally Mr. Mucus, it's a cough syrup. So they have a character called Mr. Mucus. So he gives you weekly snort. It's really a fun, quirky character. It's obnoxious. Right? So once again, it's built in a voiceover experience, built in Carnegie, exported to California. So right.
Alexa, ask Mr. Mucus for a joke.
Do you know what's the difference between bunnies and broccoli? Kids don't eat broccoli. Do you want another one, or should I share a weekly snot?
Gross joke, but maybe I'll show you a Shah Rukh Khan one. Okay, I'll skip the Shah Rukh Khan. You can, if you have an Alexa, just say Alexa open Zero movie or talk to Boba Singh. So the entire experience is built in Shah Rukh Khan. This is an ABS example I wanted to show. So this is a Lumiford. It's a brand we work with. We integrated Alexa inside Lumiford speaker, right? So it's as good as an eco device.
Alexa, what's the weather?
Currently, in Mumbai,
So the
Maharashtra,
shot
it's
is-
27 degrees Celsius with cloudy skies. Today, you can expect partly sunny weather with a high of 32 degrees.
So you can integrate ABS in any of this, right? It's a paying business for us. It is a lot of work. You have to integrate Alexa inside somebody else's hardware and physically ship those devices to Seattle for testing. It's a good 2 3 month project, right? But it's part of the voice offerings that we have. We also work with automakers where you can start your car from your home. You can set the AC temperature like 10 minutes before you start your car. Set the AC temperature and walk into the car, or you can check your engine health. Or you can also track where is your car, and it's out there. So those are all some of the advanced use cases that we do. Like I said, we build a weekly snot, which is a joke and cocktail recipe, all the way to the connected car and connected banking experiences. So it all depends on what you can imagine for your brand, and then what capabilities you bring to the table. So put it all together, and you have a voice agency business. Yeah. So last piece is please market yourself. This is to search for my name or my company name, you will see a bunch of content, right? So, like for example, designing voice UI for your business. It was written in 2018, right? So we are 3 years old in voice. When we were so beginning in the early days, all we wanted to do was evangelize voice, evangelize Alexa. Right? So I just wrote an article saying, okay, what is VUI? Right? So there's one more. This is easiest one that I ever wrote, because I was in a panel talk, like in an event like this. All the things that I heard in the panel talk, I just wrote it as an article. Right? So either you can mark anything, right? And if you want to be seen as an expert or some subject expert in that category, please have an active evangelization of that in your social media, in your blog, content. Talk to, create some talkability about the whole category. It will help you, right? Because everybody is trying to understand the possibilities of voice, what it means to all of us. So when you are voicing about voice, it really helps, right? That's about it. So thank you guys. That's my agency. That's my name. I'll be around here for the rest of the day if you have any questions. Connect me. Time for questions or I'm done? Questions? Yes? Yeah. 1 or 2 questions, please. Otherwise, you can always connect with me. Yes.
One question here, and the second, I think there are three. You showed it 3 ways, like first the information and the services and the delight. So in the services page, you give an example, you will connect with the customer's account and you will get the information. So on that use case, I just wanted to know why you did do that. I'm using an app called Walnuts. Okay, that actually reads my SMS and gets all the information about my account. And also gives me an insight. Why can't you use some app like that, which can actually get the information related to, the accounts or less EMI and all. Can you get that?
So that's completely important thinking. If you want that service, we can do it for you. That's service business thinking. Right? Hey guys, that's Akhilesh. He developed almost all the stuff that you saw right there. So I do all this talking and stuff. He's the one who actually does stuff. Cool. So I'll be around. Meet me. Feel free to ask any other questions. And otherwise, stay in public. Like how much money we make, etc. So happy to answer. Thank you so much.